Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. I'm coming to you from the Podjack outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. My name is Randy, and with me is the man they call Tom Coe. What is up, sir?
Oh, can't wait to talk about these movies, sir.
You didn't have to wait long for a sequel to the last podcast, because here we are, back with more Halloween. Can you even stomach it at this point? How many Halloweens is too many Halloweens, I dare ask?
At least, 3 per, iteration, I guess you could say.
That seems to be the shelf life, isn't it?
It does. If not 2.
Yeah, I don't know. All these reboots and whatnot, just stop it. Stop it with the reboots. Like the Texas Chainsaw movie that was threatened to come out this year, and I don't know what's become of that. Like, that was also going to act as a direct sequel to the original film. I'm like, can't you just try something different, for crying out loud?
Isn't that movie being filmed in, like, some weird Eastern European country?
I think so. The whole thing is very weird, and it's not going over well from what I've heard, so.
Yeah, there's not a lot coming out that's filling me with anticipation or even confidence.
I know. Just, how hard is it to get these movies right? Seriously. Come on.
Well, apparently pretty damn hard, because it could only be done in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, apparently so. Today we're covering Halloween H2O, semicolon, or regular colon, I'm sorry. I apologize to all colons
Get it
everywhere.
right, Randy.
I know. Halloween H2O, colon, 20 years later, and also Halloween, colon, Resurrection.
Now, what is the proper name of that first movie? Is it actually Halloween H2O 20 years later, or is it just Halloween 20 years later?
I think the official title is Halloween H2O 20 years later.
Oh, that's stupid.
Well, most people call it Halloween H2O.
Yeah, I can understand why, but, that's just a bit of a mouthful.
Well, H2O is water, Tommy.
It is.
Tom Coe.
I was gonna let it slide.
Yeah.
Holiday season.
I know. That's awfully generous of you. I mean, we're approaching Festivus. You can use that as one of your airing of grievances.
Airings of grievances, yes.
Yeah. But, we got Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. Boy, two sides of a very different coin, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I remember going to see H2O in the theater and having very good memories of that movie. And it's still a hoot, but boy, has it aged.
That's funny. I had the same exact reaction. I remember seeing this, I don't know, when I was 18, 19. Yeah, 18, I think. And enjoying it quite a bit and remembering it fondly. And I'm not sure that I've seen it since then. And, I also had the same reaction. Didn't really age as well as I would have hoped it would have.
Well, you can tell it was written by the same guy that wrote the Scream movies.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, he had the story idea. He didn't necessarily do the writing of it.
Oh, okay.
But I dare say it's highly influenced by Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Mm-hmm. And I can't say that I blame them, considering the success that same production company had with Scream.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's easy to forget, but that was a massive fucking hit back in the day. So I don't blame them for aping that style.
Sure.
But the problem that I have with a lot of these Halloween movies, honestly, is that the first movie was so innovative and so influential, and then to see the franchise later on kind of following in other movies' footsteps is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I I don't blame Dimension either for reaching out to Kevin Williamson because I mean he was the slasher king of the late '90s, as well as the creator of Dawson's Creek, so he had a sensitive side too, right?
I haven't thought about Dawson's Creek in probably 20 years, but yeah, I can definitely see the same aesthetic.
Oh boy, I sniff something for a Patreon page. Randy and
What?
Tom Coe watch Dawson's Creek.
Oh God, I'll chew my fucking wrist out before I do that, or I will accept a hefty bribe.
Okay, well, I mean that's what Patreon's for. Hefty
Exactly.
bribes.
But I mean, this movie has kind of gone the exact opposite way, H2O at least, that the third Halloween movie has. People definitely appreciate Halloween 3 more today than when it came out.
Uh-huh.
And with H2O, it's kind of an easy movie for people to shit on. There are a lot of loose strings that you can pull.
Yes, absolutely. I still think it's one of the better Halloween sequels.
Absolutely. Would you rather have had this or Halloween 7?
Definitely this.
Exactly.
Originally, when Kevin Williamson was working on this movie, he kind of wanted to just keep the continuity rolling and wanted to include references to the Thorn trilogy. And apparently, there was going to be a scene where, so in Halloween H2O, Jamie Lee Curtis is like a teacher or a headmistress of some fancy school. And apparently, a student in her class did a report on the Michael Myers killing spree. And it even mentions the death of Jamie Lloyd, which causes Laurie to run to the restroom and throw up upon hearing that. Which I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of Laurie being. Well, let's face it. In the Blumhouse films, she is a shitty mother, but at
Sure.
least she's not one who would abandon her children.
Yes, quite the opposite in this movie and in that one. She suffers from PTSD, which is a nice touch because
It is.
not too often do you see a follow up to the slasher movies where you see the effects that something like that would have on a person. And in real life, if that happened to you, you'd be
a basket case.
You'd be jumping at shadows constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's actually something that I really appreciate about this franchise. And to a lesser extent, H2O, and to a much greater extent, the recent Blumhouse movies, they're all about trauma
yes,
and the effects it has on not only the person that had the violence, perpetrated against them, but the entire community. I think that is a great theme of this franchise.
yeah. I mean, in this one, to a lesser degree, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, her character, she had faked her death, moved to a different town, goes by the name of Carrie, and she's maybe an overprotective mom, especially around Halloween. But can you really blame her? Because she believes that Michael will be back. And
No.
it's definitely a step down from the crazy survivalist that she plays in the most recent Halloween movies. But it's still effective, I think.
For a mid to late 90s character, it's fine. Because let's face it, crazy survivalists weren't quite as mainstream as they are today.
Yeah.
Now there is a lot of people. The one that I'm thinking of in particular is our good friend of the show, Dr. Wolfula. He did a retrospective review, and he definitely pointed out a lot of glaring flaws in this story that I never really thought about. The one thing that really stood out for me, no pun intended, is the amount of jump scares that this movie has. And I'm not going to lie, he's right. It's a cheap trick. But if I'm willing to overlook the flaws in, say, The Return of Michael Myers, I can definitely turn a blind eye toward H2O.
That's fair. Yeah, there are jump scares, but that seemed to be the thing to do in these movies
Very much so.
in the late 90s.
That and weird twists, or, the person you thought was a villain is actually the hero and vice versa.
Sure.
It's, there are cliches for a reason.
It definitely follows that model that I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream set in motion. They have the hot young up and comer cast. You've got Josh Hartnett in his first movie, Michelle Williams. You got LL Cool J, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, for crying out loud.
Yeah, retrospectively, this is a pretty damn good cast.
Yeah, it's a good cast. It's pretty stacked. I think everybody does well except for maybe Michelle Williams. She's like I don't know. She almost seems like a cardboard cutout in this movie, and she's definitely a lot better than that. Lord knows.
No, I would say the person that got the short, no pun intended, the short end of the stick was going to be Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Well, yeah, his role is basically only a cameo, so.
Exactly.
He was essentially playing his character from Third Rock from the Sun, so. But I watched this, and Michelle Williams is a lot better than the performance she gave in this movie. Lord knows she gives her all in those Venom movies when there's not much to be had. So I know she's a great actress just based on that alone.
I have that first Venom movie. A buddy of mine, well, a buddy of yours actually, bought a Blu-ray copy of it. He's like, "Hey, you want the digital copy?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." 2 years later, still haven't watched it.
Oh boy, I sense a future episode.
Yeah, I kind of figured you would, sir.
Yep.
Now, I mean, we've talked about a lot of the things in this movie that have not aged well. What still works in this movie?
Jamie Lee Curtis's character, I think, still works as kind of a feminist badass. I mean, we'll get to it in Halloween Resurrection, but Jamie Lee Curtis is the ultimate final girl. She's the mold from which all final girls basically come from. And
I would say her and Heather Langenkamp from that first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, because
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because let's face it, while Jamie Lee Curtis was a great victim in that first movie, Nancy Tompkins just beat the shit out of Freddy Krueger, and it was awesome to see.
That's true. Yeah, that's a fair point. And I mean, at this point, Heather is, I mean, she's almost as associated as much with Nightmare on Elm Street as Jamie Lee Curtis is with Halloween, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's definitely who I mean, she's one of the only people that were in those movies that I even remember. So,
other than, well, Robert Englund, of course, but there's also Patricia Arquette, but she wants nothing to do with it. Johnny Depp, kind of chuckles about it, but he doesn't embrace it the way that, say, a Jamie Lee Curtis does.
Which is silly. I mean, based on the fact that a lot of people, I mean, in this franchise alone, you've got Paul Rudd and Josh Hartnett and Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously, starting their careers off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kevin Bacon was in the first Friday the 13th. Jason Alexander was in a slasher movie called The Burning, and he had hair, for Christ's sake. People start off in horror movies. It's kind of a rite of passage, I guess, or it used to be.
Look at Sam Raimi.
Sure, yeah.
Come on. There's nothing wrong with horror as a genre as long as it's well done.
He goes from directing Evil Dead with his friends on a shoestring budget to the late 90s directing freaking Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I'd also say he's helming arguably the most anticipated Marvel movie since Endgame with that new Doctor Strange movie.
Ooh, shots fired. You don't think the next Spider-Man is the most anticipated?
No, I
Based
don't.
on all the rumor and innuendo?
Well, I haven't been paying attention to the rumor and innuendo. I've been off social media for the past, 4 or 5 months. But just the fact that it's going to resolve a lot of the loose strings that WandaVision left dangling. It's also going to really tie into that Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I'm looking forward personally to Doctor Strange a lot more. And this is somebody who hasn't seen that first Doctor Strange movie even.
Oh my gosh, you're losing your nerd cred by the minute.
I am.
Haven't seen Doctor Strange, but god damn it, you saw Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Fuck yeah. And I saw Malibu Express, I'll have you know.
Well, you one up me then, because I have not.
Oh, it's gold.
Oh, okay. I'll definitely have to check it out for sure.
So what else works in this movie? As far as this movie goes, yes, it does have the jump scares. Yes, it is kind of. There are a lot of useless scenes, a lot of useless characters, but it still has that funhouse atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's good enough.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, any horror movie that has a little bit of fun to it and is entertaining and watchable. I mean, horror is probably my favorite genre right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's even remotely entertaining, I'm hooked. There's a lot of bad horror out there, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. And let's face it, you need some levity in horror. Otherwise, it's just misery.
Yeah.
Look at the Rob Zombie movies,
and
you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Look at The Walking Dead. That entire show became so bleak and just dreary and dismal and hopeless that I stopped watching like years ago.
Yeah. I haven't watched that. I don't even know how many years it was after they killed Carl. And it's like, okay, they pretty much fucked the entire arc of this story. I'm out.
I dropped out before they killed Carl.
Oh, good for you.
I know. It was
Hope I didn't spoil anything.
It was right after they killed Glenn, which is straight from the comics, I know. And I'm like, no. You need a little levity. I understand that the show is trying to show this like gloomy, dreary, apocalyptic wasteland. But at the same time, there's ways to do it with humor. I mean, look at Zombieland, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean,
that's an extreme.
I don't know if I would swing the pendulum quite to that opposite extreme, but yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah. The one thing that really works for me in this one is the ending.
Oh yeah, bar none the best ending of any slasher movie ever.
Absolutely. The ending to this is classic. And quite honestly, this probably should have been the last Halloween. However, there's all sorts of legal machinations and legalese and contracts.
The odds absolutely refuse to have a movie or a series of films where Michael Myers definitively dies because they want to keep milking that cow. And I'm sorry, after a while, he stops becoming Michael Myers and turns into Jason Voorhees.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, apparently Mustafa Akkad had a clause in the contracts for these movies that legally wouldn't allow the writers to kill Michael Myers definitively. And Jamie Lee Curtis was kind of turned off by this and almost actually left the movie completely until they came up with the whole switcheroo ending, which isn't a part of this, but is shown right at the beginning of the first of Halloween Resurrection.
And yeah, I don't know if I've ever been quite as pissed off at a movie announcement as Halloween Resurrection,
Right.
because it cheapened Laurie's arc in H2O.
Yes.
It was an insult to her character. It was an insult to the audience. It was an insult to the story. And it made me feel like an asshole just sitting down and watching it again.
Yeah. If you're unaware of the ending, we're going to spoil it for you right now. But basically, Laurie takes the fight straight to Michael. She stabs the shit out of him, pushes him off a balcony.
And the best part about it is, she's wanting to do even more damage until LL Cool J explains to her, no, don't worry, he's dead.
Yeah.
That's not good enough for Laurie Strode.
Yeah. They load up Michael into the coroner's van after he's been stabbed numerous times by Laurie, and Laurie steals the fucking van and crashes it over an embankment. And
because of course he's still alive.
Yeah, of course she knows. And she ultimately decapitates him with an axe, and it's great.
It is glorious, and she instantly shot up. I don't want to say number one, and I don't want to say number two, but she's definitely tied with Nancy Tompkins as far as horror franchise protagonist.
Mm-hmm. In a documentary about Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis said about this ending that there was something in the contract that said you could never kill Michael Myers. They never told me. I said, guys, H2O is entirely predicated on the fact that I chop his head off, so there's no possibility that he could come back. I'm not going to string along an audience again. I spent 20 years of having people go, why'd you drop the scissors? Why'd you drop the thing? Why'd you drop the knife? They go, so if you think he's dead and the audience thinks he's dead, but he's not dead, is that good enough for you? I went, yeah, I guess.
You know what it reminds me of now that I'm thinking about it? You've seen Misery, right?
Yeah.
Okay, remember the scene where she's talking about the cereals at the movie theater?
Mm-hmm.
And one episode ends with the car coming, barreling over the cliff and then crashing into the ravine, bursting into flames, and everybody's trying to figure out, okay, how's he going to get out of this one?
Yeah.
And it turns out in the next episode, they show him from a different angle, jumping out of the car at the last second.
Right.
And as an audience member, Annie Wilkes felt cheated.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
It is the exact same thing, actually. That's a good comparison.
Because you lied to your audience. You insulted their intelligence. You disrespected them. Oh, I'm still having a hard time, but I'm thinking Resurrection might be the worst Halloween movie of all of them.
I think it is, yeah.
Because, it holds together as a movie better than Halloween 6. But again, every time I've ever watched it, I just feel like a stupid asshole having paid money for it. Not once, but fucking twice. I bought it on DVD and I bought it on digital because I'm a fucking moron.
Well, I don't want to call you names, but
you're not disagreeing.
I'm not. I own it on DVD. I bought it once. I bought it used, so.
All right, you know what? That's better because it didn't go directly to the royalties.
Yeah. I guess I'm somewhat of a moron though, because I think I initially liked it the first time I saw it, which makes
get the fuck out of here! How?
I don't know. I'm a stupid boy. That's how. Yeah. About H2O, originally John Carpenter was rumored to direct this one, but he started his fee out at $10 million. And demanded a 3-picture deal with Dimension because he kind of felt like he was shafted from profits from the original Halloween, and he felt this would be a good way to make amends. And that was a no-go. So
you know what? Good for him.
Yeah,
I respect him even more now.
I don't blame him at all. Not one single bit.
Now, Halloween Resurrection is infamous for the inclusion of a certain Busta Rhymes.
Sure.
I'm going to say that Busta Rhymes has a bum, no pun intended, a bum rap. Because as shitty as he is in this movie, is he any worse than any of the other actors?
No, everybody's universally awful in this movie.
The characters are awful. The acting is awful. Everything in this movie is shit. But Busta Rhymes for the past almost 20 years has been saddled with the entire blame of this movie, and I don't think that's fair.
No, it's just a lot about this does not work. Halloween Resurrection came out in 2002 and stars Busta Rhymes, Bianca Gillich as the main character Sarah, Thomas Ian Nicholas, Rookie of the Year himself, Tyra Banks, Katie Sackhoff. Again, this movie reeks of early 2000 horror.
You know, I just watched this movie last week and I completely forgot that, Katie Sackhoff was even in this movie.
That's because her character is entirely forgetful.
Everybody
Forgettable.
is.
Yeah, it's bad.
You know what? I got to give Busta Rhymes credit. He's a memorable character in this movie.
He is, and I feel like the reasons he's memorable are all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and looking back on it, I can't blame the producers and the casting directors for giving him this role because one of the standout characters in H2O was LL Cool J.
Yeah, and they tried to replicate that with Busta Rhymes.
So I don't blame them. I blame the director and the screenwriter on this movie.
Yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis comes back for this movie for a little bit, and according
now, was she contractually obligated for this movie? Because that's the only reason I can think of why she's here.
Yeah, according to H2O's co-writer Robert Zappia, she was contractually obligated to be in this movie, and she agreed to do it as long as she was in the first 10 minutes, and then she was killed off. Which is
That's a shame.
It is a shame.
That is a shame.
Because the character is... So we find out that the beheading in the last movie, I mean, there's no way around it. Laurie Strode murdered an innocent man who had a Michael Myers mask on his head.
Even though his body type was completely different.
Yeah. It was actually a paramedic that, for some reason, Michael had the good common sense to put a goddamn mask on and crushed his damn larynx so he couldn't speak. So he could
throw him in the overalls, and
then he escapes. Which
according to continuity, doesn't make any goddamn sense because he was burned to a fucking crisp.
Yeah.
He's walking around without a mask. You're going to notice a burn victim.
Also, since when does Michael Myers just fucking hide like that? What does he care? He's like, oh, I can't win this battle. I've only spent my whole life wanting to kill this woman, but I can't win this one, so I'll come back another day. Whatever. So we see Laurie Strode institutionalized because she lost her mind allegedly after killing this paramedic, but we kind of find out she's playing possum, which is great.
Well, no, not really, considering she actually did abandon her child in this movie.
If she didn't do it before, she certainly did it this time. Yeah, she's for sure certain that Michael Myers is going to come back for her. In the meantime, she did leave her helpless, innocent Josh Hartnett completely without any sort of protection. So, yeah, I guess that's...
Way to go, writers!
Yeah, I guess that's a valid point. She's a bad mom again, damn it.
I don't know. I was just so... I'm getting pissed off again talking about this movie because I like the character of Laurie Strode. I like Jamie Lee Curtis as an actor, and to see them just crumble that character up and toss her in the bin, that's bullshit.
It's a complete disservice to the entire history of the character.
It's a betrayal, is what it is.
It's a betrayal to the character and the fans of the franchise and horror fans in general. It's just stupid. It's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she apparently said she'd be in the sequel, but then you have to kill her off. But there's so many better ways they could have done that.
Or maybe they could have, sat her down and had a conversation.
Or that, yeah. I mean,
or say, you did so good in this last movie. We turned a tidy profit. Why don't we go ahead and rewrite the contract so that you don't have to appear in this?
Yeah. Or maybe up the pay and maybe she would be in it longer. Yeah. Whatever. Michael appears and stabs her and throws her off the rooftop. And that's it.
Yep. But he does give a fellow inmate the bloody knife as a souvenir because he's obsessed with serial killers, and it goes nowhere.
No, it doesn't go anywhere. I wish it did, because that was kind of interesting, I thought, but it's just, yeah, whatever. A year later, we flash forward and we get the real premise of the movie, which is Halloween Resurrection is sort of a ghost hunter reality show set in the old Myers ancestral home, and they're going to live stream this over the internet.
Boy, if you thought H2O aged.
Yes. Yes. I mean, at the time, this was cutting edge shit, right? Nobody was live streaming anything over the internet. And reality shows were certainly on the uptick. So I guess it sort of makes sense. And I certainly remember loads of dumb ghost hunter shows. So why not?
Oh, they're still
right?
out there.
Yeah, I know. And they're still cheesy as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So why not try this? Why not? Why not? I'll tell you why not, because it's a bad fucking idea.
It's fucking stupid.
So dumb. So a bunch of college kids are thrown together into the Myers house to appear on this internet reality show called Dangertainment, directed by Freddie Harris, the one and only Busta Rhymes. And the deal is the students have to spend a night in the Michael Myers house and the Michael Myers old abandoned childhood house, and they have to figure out what led him to kill. And there's all sorts of like props and stuff that Busta Rhymes left around to really further the narrative and show that reality TV truly is scripted, Tom Coe. I didn't know if you know
No.
that. It is. My mind was blown too.
Thank God Busta Rhymes shined a light on that dark secret of entertainment.
This movie is shot so badly. Especially the live streaming scenes. Like, you don't even know what the fuck you're seeing. It's so awful. It's just the whole thing. They're trying to make kind of a found footage sort of deal, too.
Yes. Yep.
Because, Blair Witch Project.
What year did this come out?
2002.
02?
Yeah, so...
Okay, so this is post Blair Witch.
Post Blair Witch, but not that far off. Blair Witch came out in 99, so... Found footage was definitely finding its footing. I don't have any good things to say about this movie.
I was going to say, there is nothing redeeming about this movie.
No.
I didn't realize this until I watched it again. They ripped off Galaxy Quest.
Did they really? Do tell.
Yes.
Because I missed this.
Okay, you're familiar with Galaxy Quest.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. I can never remember the name of the actor. It was the dude who was the Mac versus the guy who was the PC.
Oh, Justin Long.
Yes. All right. Justin Long's character in Galaxy Quest was aiding Tim Allen and crew through the internet. And
oh
through
my God, you're right.
Yep.
Oh no.
And what does the kid who has a crush on the main actor do?
Yeah.
Helps the main character and the crew through the internet. It's a fucking ripoff of Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but that holds true. Yeah, that holds true.
Fuck this movie in the ear.
Right in the ear. So the main character is played by Bianca Gillich, and
she should know better.
You would think. I mean, boy, this movie does her no. This is a complete disservice to her. She went on to have a good career. She was in the show Rules of Engagement for like 6 years after this, and she's still working, which is great.
Hey, good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. But boy, oh boy, this movie could have ended your career real quick.
I'm honestly surprised it didn't.
Because she's not given any material to work with at all. We'll just put that out there. There's no material for her to work with. She's supposed to be the final girl of the movie, and you know that right off the bat, pretty much. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is the main character. They're not going to pull a Psycho and a Janet Leigh, which, by the way, we forgot to mention. Janet Leigh was in Halloween H2O and a good nod.
Oh, yeah. They also used the original car in the, opening theme song. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good touch. And
it was.
I'm glad that's in there. And I'm glad I remembered to bring it up. Cause
I am too.
I would have been disappointed otherwise. But, yeah, you know she's going to be the main character, and you know she's the one you're supposed to root for. And you know she's going to be the final girl, but it just doesn't work.
No, there is nothing about this movie that works.
And the thing that really pisses me off is the fact that she's not the final girl. She does not square off against Michael Myers. Busta fucking Rhymes uses karate moves to save her and electrocute Michael Myers, and he saves the day. She doesn't do shit. And that's like an atrocity for all slasher movies. The final girl is the thing. But instead, Busta Rhymes makes some weird faces and karate chops
some moves.
Yeah. And he starts kicking the ass of Michael fucking Myers. I'm sorry, but knock it off. You're ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Give me a break.
Again, I'm trying to be charitable to Busta Rhymes because he's had 19 years of people giving him shit. But it's so fucking stupid. I can't defend that.
I don't have a problem with somebody like whooping Michael Myers' ass. Like somebody actually taking the fight to him instead of running away. Just really going toe to toe and trading blows and stuff. That's cool. But I mean, the way it's done with his karate moves and the ridiculous attempts at humor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, they were trying to basically have the LL Cool J character in this movie and recast, and it doesn't work.
No. Just occurred to me, I don't think I've ever been angry at a movie we've reviewed on this show until now.
Are you so angry?
This movie, like I said, it was insulting.
Yes, it is insulting.
On multiple fronts.
You have insulted the integrity of one Mr. Tom Coe.
Tom Coe?
Tom Coe. I have a cold, thank you very much. My nose is so stuffed up. You're lucky I can even enunciate. I sound like a Creed song right now. That's how bad I'm just...
I salute your wherewithal, sir.
Wow, the people got to hear about shitty Halloween movies, damn it. That's what we're here for.
So, can you blame them for rebooting after this?
Here's the thing. I always hate reboots. And especially...
I didn't mind it after this one.
Yeah. I mean, what we got wasn't that much better, but here's the thing about reboots, especially in this day and age. There's no reason for them because everybody has access to all the things ever. Mm-hmm. So it's not... It used to be the common thing was we have to reboot so a new generation knows about this thing and has a connection to it. No, you can have a connection to it anytime you want because everything's always available.
Yeah, you know what? I think that logic's kind of bullshit because if Psycho 2 can be really good and make money in the early 80s, like 20 years after the original Psycho,
Uh-huh.
sorry, you don't necessarily need to reboot. You just need to think your script through.
Yeah, that's another franchise we need to cover.
We really do, yeah.
Because yes, folks, if you were unaware, there was six Psychos.
A lot, yeah.
Believe it or not. And most of them are pretty decent.
Shockingly enough, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that would be the case, but they are.
Hmm.
Of course, we have the stinger at the end of this movie that, Michael his burned, charred corpse is being dragged away, and Sarah's like thanking the mystery man that saves her, and happy ending. And then the paramedics drive off, and his eyes shoot open. You're like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah. Yep. Fuck you, movie.
Yeah. Just everything about it.
I will admit I appreciate the fact that the geek was used the screen name of Deckard.
Sure. Yeah.
Come on, everybody loves Blade Runner.
Everybody loves Blade
It's kind of
Runner.
law. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a law. You have to.
Mm.
I didn't mind that plot point that much, but now I'm kind of pissed off that you're right, it was stolen from Galaxy Quest. So now I kind of.
You know what? I don't know if I've ever been as proud as I am on this show right now to make you hate this movie even more for a different reason that you had no idea about when you hit record.
You did, because that was one of the few things I latched onto in this movie. I'm like, oh, the geek is helping the cute girl, and maybe those crazy kids will end up together, and that's fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute. Damn it. Ugh.
Oh, fuck this movie.
Fuck this movie right in the booty. Let's see, what else do I have to say about this? Peter Travers of Rolling Stone said about this movie in his review: every sequel you skip will be 2 hours gained. Consider this. Every sequel you skip will be 2 hours gained. Consider this review life affirming, which is pretty much the best goddamn review I've ever read.
Yep.
That's
Please
amazing.
tell me that's all he said.
I wish it was. I'm sure there's more, but man, that would be enough for me. If I read that, I'd be like, oh, you're brilliant, and I salute you.
I concur.
Yep. So where do we stand on the... Oh, by the way, I guess I should say this.
Oh?
Halloween Resurrection director Rick Rosenthal, who was also the man that directed, believe it or not, Halloween 2. Did you know that?
I did. And you know what? John Carpenter's work on the script is sorely missed.
Yeah. He apparently shot 4 different endings and kind of wanted to mimic the idea of Clue back in the day, who, when Clue came out in theaters, it had multiple endings, and different theaters received different cuts of the film in the 80s, and he kind of wanted to do that.
He was really overestimating the interest in this piece of shit.
Right. Like, I don't know what the other endings were, but...
Do you care?
Not really. I just think it's a fun little factoid, but other than that, eh. Also, apparently, there was originally going to be a sequel to this movie that featured Josh Hartnett's H2O character coming back and hunting down Michael Myers to avenge the death of Laurie Strode. I would have loved to have seen that, maybe.
Actually, you know what? I would like to see a movie where the hunter is absolutely the hunted from the get-go. That might be kind of interesting.
I think so, too. I think that's a pretty decent idea.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. We got Rob Zombie's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which we'll be covering.
I can't wait to dive into those. If you thought we were filled with venom today.
Yeah. I don't know that'll... It seemed like at the time people were sort of on board with the first one that he did, and I feel like all that goodwill has faded away since.
Oh, it absolutely has. And I'm going to hold my cards a little bit closer to the chest. But I have thoughts.
I'm sure you do. I am sure you do. Tom Coe, tell the people where they can find you on this world wide web of ours.
You can find me on a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World. It's a podcast that delves into the world of comics, movies, television, and pretty much anything else that we geek out to. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at The Drunken Dork and on Facebook at Jake and Tom Conquer the Group. But Randall, what about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter at mretailslave or a big dumb comedy show called Miserable Retail Slave. We've been in the top 20 in Barbados for about 3 weeks now, so we're a big deal.
Oh, good for you.
Hell yeah. You can also find me on a show called That's a Shame. It's a Seinfeld rewatch podcast. My friend Maddie F. And also you can find me here all the time watching all the movies you're afraid to watch yourself. As I said, next time we're covering the Rob Zombie Halloween movies as our march through the Halloween franchise continues. And then we're going to finish it off with the Blumhouse Halloweens, Halloween and Halloween Kills.
I'm looking forward to this, sir.
Yep. After that, hopefully we have some time for some holiday nonsense. I've got some stuff in mind. We'll see if we have time for it.
I'm rubbing my hands in anticipation.
So much anticipation. It's all coming for you on this podcast. Someone's favorite movie. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.